I was 7, the first time I realized my mother didn't love me. It wasn't a soft realization, it was a slap, literally. I had broken a vase by accident, and instead of comfort or understanding, I was dragged by my hair across the floor, her voice a vicious whip. "You stupid, useless girl, you'll never be anything." I cried not from the pain, but because I wanted her to love me. I wanted her to say I was still her daughter, but those words never came. That was my childhood, a blur of bruises, commands, and cold nights on the floor while she and her real children slept in warm beds. I wasn't allowed to sit at the table. I wasn't allowed to call her Mom in front of others. Yet, when strangers asked, I still whispered proudly, "She's my mother," because I didn't know any better. I thought that was love. Her name was Martha. To the world, she was a respected woman, a mother of 3, a widow who worked hard. But behind closed doors, she was my captor. She made me clean the house, wash the clothes, cook meals I wasn't allowed to taste, and care for her children who mocked me. I grew up with them, but was never one of them. At night, I would stare at the cracked ceiling of the storage room I slept in and dream. I dreamed I was her real daughter. I dreamed that maybe one day she'd say, "You've done well, my child," and let me sit beside her. But that day never came. When I turned 15, she made me quit school. She said education wasn't for someone like me. "You'll just waste it," she spat. I didn't fight back. I didn't know how. But every night, I read scraps of books I found in the trash, hiding them under my thin mattress. I taught myself letters, words, and sentences, feeding a hunger I couldn't name. Still, I called her Mother. Years passed, and I worked harder than ever, hoping to earn her approval. But it never changed. The only thing that grew was my loneliness and the pain of being invisible. Then, one evening, everything changed. I was 18. I was sweeping the living room when a man came to the door. He was tall, serious, with eyes that looked like they carried stories of their own. Martha called me to serve tea, and when I brought it, the man stared at me. Too long, too deeply. I felt exposed, like he could see every scar beneath my skin. "Who is she?" he asked Martha. "She's nobody," she replied with a shrug. "A girl I raised, she owes me everything." His eyes didn't leave me. After he left, I overheard them arguing. "Why didn't you tell me she was alive? You kept her here like a servant." I pressed my ear to the door, heart pounding. "She's nothing. She doesn't even remember," Martha hissed. "If you take her away, I'll tell them everything. You'll lose everything." For the first time, I realized they were talking about me. Days later, the man returned, with papers, with authority, with truth. His name was David, and he was my father. I laughed when he said it, not because it was funny, but because it was absurd. "I don't have a father," I said bitterly. "I have her." But he showed me documents, photos, a birth certificate, my real name, my real identity. I wasn't Martha's daughter. I wasn't her slave. I was stolen. When I was 3, my mother died in a tragic accident. My father was overseas, working to provide for us. In the chaos of my mother's funeral, Martha, a distant relative, had taken me, promising to care for me. But she never did.
Instead, she raised me as her servant, lying to everyone that I was an orphan she took in out of charity. I stood there holding the papers that proved who I was, but it felt hollow. I said, she raised me. She may have been cruel, but she raised me. Isn't that something? David's eyes filled with pain. She raised you like a prisoner, not a daughter. I didn't know what to believe. But the moment that broke me was when I confronted Martha. Why did you do this to me? I asked, my voice shaking. She laughed, not kindly, but like a villain in a storybook. It was easy, she said. I needed help. No apology, no regret. That day I walked away, with David, my real father. But the world didn't magically become better. I was 19 now, uneducated formally, scarred mentally. I didn't know how to live freely. David tried to make up for lost time. He enrolled me in adult education classes. He gave me a room with a soft bed. He tried to love me, but love felt foreign. I didn't know how to accept it. Some nights I still slept on the floor by habit. I struggled with anger, with grief, not just towards Martha, but towards myself. Why did I still miss her? Why did I still wish she had loved me? It took years of therapy, of kind teachers, of patient friends I met along the way to heal. I learned to read properly, then to write. I started writing my story, at first just for myself, then for others. My story spread. People reached out, people who had been abused, neglected, or worse, and I realized I wasn't just nobody. I was someone who survived. Years later, I stood on a stage, speaking to a room of young women who had been in foster homes, shelters, or worse, and I told them, you are not your pain. You are not the lies they told you. You are the truth you choose to build from here. And when I stepped down, a girl hugged me and said, "Thank you, Mother." That's when I cried, because I had finally become the mother I never had, to others, to myself, and I never looked back.